Hello, this is Heidi with H2 Home Designs, sitting here at the craft table, which is my dining room table, and putting together a project that I thought I would share with you. It's kind of fun. If you like to work with your hands, I think you're going to enjoy this kind of project. And it's a project that's got possibilities. We're working with IOD molds today and some candy molds that I picked up. We're going to work with an IOD inlay. I'm going to show you how that works. And we're going to be working with air dry clay. I am working with frames. These are frames that have a flat space around them. And both of these frames are identical. Can you believe that? So this frame started out as this frame. Take a look. This is the border or the trim that I've added. This is actually IOD clay that I've pressed into one of the trimmings molds made by IOD, and I've wrapped it all the way around the frame, glued it down, painted it white, and then filled the center. This was a very dated old picture. Painted it in a pretty off-white and added this mold. This is another mold. This is made out of IOD clay, but you can see the relief there. The mold itself is called Persephone, and that's a mold that's available on the H2 Home Designs website. But look at how beautiful that is. So completely different from this to this. Now today I'm going to be doing a project that still transforms the frame, but completely different. This project is really about possibilities. When you're working with the IOD products, there are so many different possibilities. You just get to be creative and make it your own. I'm going to start out first by showing you the direction we're going. I have used candy molds here, some candy molds, and created some flowers that are running across the top here. And I'm going to show you how we make those using the molds and using IOD clay from IOD. I like to take my candy molds and a little paintbrush and just add some cornstarch to the molds that you're going to be using. I'm not going to use all of them today. There are a couple of different flowers I like here that I'm going to use. We'll fill those with IOD clay, and you would do the same with the trimmings mold. This is what the trimmings mold looks like, and look at all the different details in those trims that you could use. So if I were going to choose, say this one here, I would just go ahead and fill this whole thing, lightly dust it with cornstarch and a paintbrush, and then you're ready to press in the clay. This clay is really fun to work with. It doesn't have an odor of any kind. It dries fairly quickly. So I've just got some of the air dry clay. I'm going to take a small piece, the size that I think is going to be necessary to fill the mold. Don't need to take anything too much more than that because we're just going to have to pull it off anyway. And I am taking it and pressing it into the mold. And then I try to flatten it out on the top as much as possible. If there's some excess clay, I just run my thumb across it like this to remove some of the excess so that the back is flat. We want a flat back so that we can adhere it to our frame. And you can see how that looks. I've cleaned it up so we can just see the shape of the flower, and then here we go. I'm going to pull back on the mold and look at this beautiful flower that we get. How sweet is that? You can take your fingers and just clean up the edges just a little bit if there's some extra clay or extra cornstarch that's there, but take a look at how neat that is. So this is the largest flower that I'm using, and I'm going to create these other flowers to run along with it. All right, and then we have flower number one. Let me move this over so you can see as I'm doing this. So I'm going to add that one. So we're going to add glue to the back of these to adhere them to the frame. So line them up, and you don't want to go overboard with the glue, but make sure you add enough so that your pieces don't end up falling off. Okay, I think everybody has glue on them. inside the frame was a piece of wood that had a graphic on it, an old image of an old house or something. It wasn't anything that was valuable, and you can see how it fit inside of here. I used IOD's paint inlay to create the image that's going to be inside of the frame. And let me show you this. If you're not familiar with paint inlays, this is one of the paint inlays. This is one that was actually, I understand, designed by Debbie Baird, which is kind of fun. I liked the colors. I thought it was really fun and playful, so I decided to use this one. And I want you to see the back of the marketing material that comes with the package of these has all of the images on the back, so you can see these are all the different options that are available inside this package. I chose to use this one right here. I liked the birds and I wanted to be able to frame the birds. So this is what's going to go in the center of the frame. This is the board. It was painted once with paint, second time with paint. I gently sprayed this inlay, trimmed it up to the size that I needed it, gently sprayed this inlay, and then laid it into the wet paint, face down, laid it into the wet paint, used my hand to gently press it down. I sprayed it lightly again, misted it lightly again so that it was moist enough, and then we make sure that that paint that's on the inlay gets activated itself. And it's, right now currently, it's adhered into that DIY paint. So I'm going to show you how we peel this off, and let's just see if it worked as well as it's supposed to. So I have a spray bottle here. Let me see how we're spraying. And I'm gonna mist, lightly mist. You can see it's getting wet. I'm gonna mist the inlay paper. And the reason we do this is we wanna activate that paint just enough, or the paper just enough to pull it away from that paint. Because right now it is dried on. Look at how cool. So this is not how it's gonna look, but if I do it correctly, the image is gonna look much like this, okay? So I'm gonna give it just a couple of seconds here, maybe add a little bit more water, just so it pulls away nicely for us. Okay, so I've got it wet, and let me try and start pulling it up. Let's see if we can do this so that you can see. Starting to, can you see that? So you can see the image here on the paper, but you can also see the image down in the paint. Let's see. It's always fun. It's a little bit like Christmas watching this happen. And if you're careful enough in pulling it away, you can actually reuse this paint inlay. Take a look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Wow, that turned out so nice. Fantastic. All right, I'm gonna carefully lay this down. Take a look. Look at how beautiful that is. Ah! It turned out so nice. So what I'm gonna do now is let it dry completely. And then I may do a little bit of distressing to it. You can see it's got a little bit of distressed look to begin with, just because of the nature of the paint that was used. Okay, it's got its little imperfections, and that's okay. That's how I live too, with lots of imperfections. But you can see how beautiful that looks. Got a little bit of a rustic feel to it. So we're gonna let this dry. I wanted to see it all together and see if I feel like I need to add more flowers to the side, and you let me know what you think. So this is what it's gonna look like framed out. I have landed on Salty Kiss, Debbie's Design Diary DIY paint. Isn't that pretty? And once you add a wax to this green, oh, it's just gorgeous. I'm gonna paint all of it green, and then we'll go back and we'll add some highlights. All of the colors of my flowers were inspired by that inlay graphic. They add a little bit of fun, a little bit of whimsy to the project. Just love it. To complete the project, I sealed the entire thing with a clear wax, added a little bit of black wax in those details, and we're done. Tell me what you think. If you like any of the products that you've seen me use today, you can go to h2homedesigns.com to purchase. I've got some other additional ideas there. And again, if you are local to Green Bay and you would like to visit the shop, you can go to This and That Vintage and Local Artisan Market in Howard, Wisconsin, and take a look at my booth and all of the different IOD products and vintage fun that I have available there.